Hey riders, welcome to another Ride Adventures video. I'm Eric Lang, and as you've heard me explain in other videos, I've been riding and guiding motorcycle trips around the world for a long time now, and questions keep coming into the website and the YouTube channel. Which do I think are motorcycling's top countries? I thought I'd at least walk through my top 5 for you here today and hopefully help you realize why you want to travel there too. So let's get into character. So like I said, all this riding, I've done 5 continents around the world, and whether you're talking the US and Mexico up here in North America, South America from Colombia to Argentina, South Africa and Botswana and Namibia to Europe, Montenegro, Croatia and Italy, and all the way over to Asia as well, Thailand and Laos. I've covered a lot of this world, and
Yeah,
I'd like to try and talk through here for you exactly why I would think that these are maybe my top 5 countries. Of all those and more that I didn't mention that I have ridden, which are my top 5? Well, and I'll do that and actually some honorable mentions as well at the end. So my first pick might actually come as a surprise to you, just as it did for me, and that's going to be Thailand. Blew my mind away what I discovered there. My expectations going into my first trip over there, and I rode Laos on the same trip, was kind of like I thought all these years of seeing movies and super congested, packed streets and busy traffic and just too much going on, too much density. I didn't have the greatest expectations actually going in, and not being that hilly of a country compared to some of the other regions I've ridden in the world, the Andes Mountains and whatever. I just didn't have that great of expectations for Thailand, but wow, was I surprised. When you combine the variety that is there for us, the chance to ride through these tiny little dirt villages before popping out onto beautiful pavement. And I've only done twin cylinder bike riding, big adventure bike type riding over there, but what a feeling it is to have that variety involved, and you can bounce back and forth between dirt and pavement, pulling out onto these big hill climb paved twisties like you're dangling from the crankshaft and accelerating out for more fun. What a time over there. And then when you add the people too, the sweet, pleasant demeanor of the Thai people, their calm presence and their warm smiles and their genuine nature, absolutely loved that. And then of course, last but not least, if you like Thai food by chance like I do, actually having it there in Thailand, and also learning, yes, it's a little spicier on average than it is here in the US, for example, but what a delight it is to be able to eat such great cuisine, hop back on the bike, and dangle from that crankshaft again as you're accelerating away to the next turn. So, great place, Thailand, for riding. Next up was truly one of the scariest places in the world, and one I never thought I would travel to, the beautiful country of Colombia. It is true, long ago when the cartel and Escobar and everybody was in control a little bit more, Colombia was a dangerous place to travel. The locals were even fearful to leave their cities and go out into the countryside for the obvious fears of entanglements with the wrong people. But so much has changed there politically. It's a stable country full of fun, friendly people, some of the proudest people in the world, it's been said, because they now realize after all these years of being somewhat suppressed, what a beautiful, incredible country they have. The variety is there, from the Tatacoa Desert into the more deep, rich jungle foliage feelings. You've got coffee plantations, and obviously some of the best coffee in the world coming from this country. So much to see and so much variety, almost never going straight in a single section of road or dirt or whatever it is that you happen to be traveling on. They're very motorcycle friendly too. In fact, the few toll booths you might come across on your motorcycle trip, actually there's a motorcycle lane, perfect for you to just skip on by and not even have to stop. You just keep on rolling. So between all that, the fun, friendly people, and the outstanding cuisine as well, Colombia remains for sure in my top 5. And these are not necessarily in order, I'll tell you. Next up is going to be Patagonia. And yes, I realize that's not actually a country. Patagonia is comprised of both Chile and Argentina, but we're going to make the exception here and call that one spot in the world in this case. And what a place to travel. From the cultural differences on both sides of the border in Chile, and then you ride over the mountains to go into Argentina as you're crossing the Andes back and forth on some of these routes that we run. There's just that juxtaposition between these two beautiful countries all the way on down through Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego to Ushuaia. Total variety, and the riding options that are there for you a huge challenge in terms of the weather changes and the conditions that we endure. You know, we can start on beautiful, sunny, warm days in northern Patagonia, and by the time you're crossing the Andes a few times, you've hit rain and snow actually by the time you get down there. In the middle of summer, arriving in Ushuaia, we can be actually seeing snowflakes. But all along the way, you've got fun, friendly people that are greeting you and excited to see where you're from in the world. Got great food. You know, we sometimes have that discussion at dinner, which is the better beef, Chile or Argentina. They're famous for both. As well, the wines and the beers and everything that make the hospitality options there excellent and fun to enjoy. We have great accommodations, and I always kind of thought of Patagonia as a place where nature threw a party for itself, and it spared no expense decorating and making this curtain of beauty just there for us as motorcycle riders. Next up might be one of the most underappreciated countries in the world, that being Mexico. What a treat it is to travel in this huge country to start with, but to see the huge amount of variety, the fantastic people that are there to greet us. We love every single trip that we do down there. So yes, it's true, Mexico has a reputation. You watch the wrong news channels and you watch the wrong movies and you'll have the idea that it's such a dangerous place and you couldn't possibly go there. That, again, much like Colombia, is not necessarily true. You can find trouble anywhere in the world if you go to the wrong places at the wrong time. It's just that way. But Mexico, we find totally friendly, welcoming people, totally motorcycle enthusiastic. They're welcoming us with parties and fiestas, and they've got some of the best cuisine recognized around the world there. Mexican food is so loved everywhere, and to actually enjoy that feast once you're there in Mexico is, of course, a different experience. And the ride in itself, it's such a huge country. There's just so much variety, you know. From the mainland, you have actual jungle foliage type settings, all the way up to the northern pines in the mountainous regions around Copper Canyon. And then you go over to Baja, the legend, where all that Baja racing happens. And you've got bouncing back and forth from the Sea of Cortez, where we're watching and actually getting the chance to pet whales in person sometimes. Not many places in the world you can do that, but to pet whales there, and then riding over to the Pacific all the way down to Cabo for some time sinking our toes into the sand. Mexico is just such a wonderful place to travel. And I'm so thankful to have spent a lot of time down there, and hopefully you will too. Last but not least, one that might surprise you, right here in the United States. It's absolutely some of the best riding anywhere in the world. And that's partially because it's a huge country, first of all. And if you go from corner to corner, coast to coast, there's a lot of variety, a lot of options, mountain ranges, the Appalachians in the east, the Rockies here, and the Cascades in the west. And there's just endless riding to be enjoyed. You could spend months here and never do the same roads twice. And specifically, the amount of dirt that we still have available. You know, a lot of places in the world are kind of choked down as far as having been paved, and there's not many dirt riding options left available. But actually here in the US, you can ride for months on end and never see the same dirt tracks twice. So we've got great wildlife as well. Some places in the world have kind of been overhunted and squeezed out for population density reasons, but we got a lot of open spaces here and a lot of open wildlife to hopefully see on your trip. And even the bald eagle has made a bit of a comeback here in the US, having once been an endangered species. If you have a look online, you'll see the famous backcountry discovery routes, and so much riding here in the US. Make sure you come check us out. So in that list of top 5 that I gave you, my reasons for choosing those are things like I love a place that allows me to ride that requires some challenge. I want some variety in that. So you heard me mention variety over and over in all these places. And of course that challenge often comes with variety. So also the altitude considerations, which I'll get to in a minute. I like the option of riding at altitude, but certain heights, I can start to get altitude sickness, just like many of you as well. And then of course I want a place to ride in with beautiful scenery, food, culture, people, things like that. So those are definitely the reasons why I chose those 5 highlights. Now for the honorable mentions that I promised, great places I've ridden, places I'll definitely go back to, and maybe I have not seen everything I need to see, but altitude and altitude sickness. I love Peru and Bolivia. You should go check them out. As someone that admittedly has sleep apnea and struggles a little bit with that at night, I just prefer to not be at such high altitudes like we often find in Bolivia and Peru and the high Andes up there. So great places to ride in the world. Go check them out if you want to, but that's just why they did not make my top 5 list. That's my top 5 list, but I've not yet ridden everywhere in the world. So what would make your top 5, or at least your top few? Let us know in the comments below. Maybe you'll inspire us to go check out something new, or others to do the same. So it might be an intimidating list. You know, you think of all these places you've never been to, and just keep in mind that we make it easy for you to go to these places by having the motorcycle you want to ride in the country you want to ride it in. And whether you want to be on your own or as part of a group tour, just let us know what you want to do next and we'll get you started. So thanks for watching, everyone. Ride on. We'll see you out there.